Welcome to Fight Night Hearthstone Edition, featuring the top 8 players around the world. With 10,000 in prize money and regional pride on the line, who will go home the Hearthstone champion? This is Fight Night! Welcome to the first ever edition of Fight Night here at ESGN TV. We've gathered the top Hearthstone players from Europe and North America to test their skills and have a chance to earn up to 10,000 in prizes. But there's a twist. In Hearthstone, normally you play individually by yourself, but we're going to be doing a team format. Be prepared to see Hearthstone like you've never seen it before. It's time to meet our players. From Team DogeHouse, the BlizzCon 2013 champion, Artosis. The guy who let all the doggies out, Ekka. His top deck skills are top-notch, Gnimsh. And the young prodigy, Nyx. From other team, no name yet, the strategist, Monk. The stone cold killer, Strife Crow. The mayor of Valuetown, Trump. And the king of dreams, Kripparrian.
I definitely think that my group of players is better. They're all former WoW TCG pros, and that's the closest game to Hearthstone, so...
We're gonna beat them. That's no question asked. I mean, they have to get pretty lucky to beat us.
I think we are far superior to those guys because Trump and Krip, they stream all day and they like play Arena, and Arena isn't constructed.
I feel pretty confident. I was participating in a lot of events, and I was winning those events.
If you do look at the current metagame shifts that have happened since BlizzCon, it's all been decks made by Team DogeHouse.
We will win every series, for sure.
I'm always cautious on saying I'm confident, but I'm reasonably confident. I can't say that I will do well necessarily, just I've done what I can.
I really hope we'll do well, and you know, based on what I've seen so far, I think we're at the very least an even chance.
My prediction is that I think we're gonna win. If I know the format correctly, I think we're gonna win 3-2. So I just think we're just gonna win 3-2. I don't know. That's my prediction.
From an outside perspective, I'd have to say that the Euro team is favored, but we do have some secret things planned, so you should watch out.
Now that you've met our two teams, it's time to pick our two team captains and get our inaugural Fight Night here at ESGN TV underway. Gentlemen, have we chosen our two team captains?
I feel very confident for my team overall. I don't know specifically how I'll do, but I really think that we're gonna end up winning.
My full name is Kevin Dahl. My ID is Monk. I am from the state of New Jersey in the United States.
All right, Artosis, now as the team captain, you get to choose who your opponent is via the wheel of RNG. Take it away. Will it be... First opponent will be... Monk or Trump? All right, Trump's gonna be the first opponent for the other team, no name yet. All right, our next team captain we'd like to invite up is Monk. All right, Kevin, have a go at the wheel of RNG and find out who from Team DogeHouse will be your first opponent. Gonna be Gnimsh versus Trump as our first match. Trump could not be more ecstatic.
Their team includes Gnimish, who is someone who has won a lot of tournaments. I think he has the most impressive record of, or at least most impressive list of accomplishments, at least on paper, in terms of Hearthstone. He hasn't been to the big BlizzCon event, but he just wasn't invited. Maybe he would have won, who knows.
I think Trump gets emotional because I was watching him on BlizzCon, and he was very frustrated when something didn't go his way. So that's a plus for my team if he gets emotional, because like if we are able to put him on edge, he might fall down or something.
Thanks to our assistants and our wheel, we have our first match, Trump versus Gnimsh. As they get ready for the pre-game ceremonies and deciding which hero they choose, Artosis is going to join me on the commentator board.
Hearthstone is a 1v1 digital card game developed by Blizzard Entertainment, the company behind famous franchises such as StarCraft, Diablo, and the Warcraft series. Currently, in the Hearthstone beta, you have the choice between 9 hero classes, akin to their Warcraft counterparts: Warrior, Shaman, Rogue, Paladin, Hunter, Druid, Warlock, Mage, and Priest. Each class has its own unique set of cards that you can choose to customize, as well as a unique hero power that you can use once per turn. Each player chooses 30 cards before the match. This format is often called Constructed, and is considered the primary form of competition in any collectible card game. Hearthstone is turn-based. Both players take separate turns to play their cards. You can play as many cards as you want, but be careful not to run out and be completely hopeless. The first person to have their opponent hit 0 health is declared the winner. With over 450 cards currently in the beta alone, Hearthstone offers an array of opportunities to build neat strategies and deck themes oriented around various playstyles. Similar to other strategy games, there is no one deck to rule them all. It comes down to who prepares the best and who gets the draws.
I'm now joined with the captain of Team DogeHouse, Artosis. Welcome, man.
Thank you, Frodan. I'm so excited. I've actually never commentated with you, even though we're both longtime commentators, and I'm really happy to be here at the first Hearthstone event for ESGN.
Yeah, you're not only commentating, but you're also the player, and you have a lot of insight, and I can't wait to tap into that as we get into the games. But before we begin, we realize that a lot of people may have not watched BlizzCon, and we're doing a BlizzCon style. Can you explain that format a little bit?
Well, it's a King of the Hill with 3 decks for each player. Each player chooses 3 decks of different classes with pre-designed deck lists that were submitted earlier this morning, and they go up against each other, blindly choosing the first decks. Now, the winning deck stays, whereas the loser has to choose a new deck, and it keeps going like that until one player has lost with all 3 of their decks.
That's right, Dans. Our Hearthstone Fight Night will consist of a 4v4 team battle. Both players will bring 3 different classes. The person who beats his opponent's 3 decks wins a point for the team, some personal cash, and team bonus money, which ranges from $250 to $5,000. The team that can clean sweep their opponents, that means not dropping a single game in any series, will also get a bonus $5,000 in their pockets. If the series ends prematurely, we have some bonus money rounds. Here's the catch. We only have 4 players, so the 5th match will have a secret ace player that will be revealed when the time comes. Team captains will choose their opponents randomly by spinning our ESGN wheel. Once someone has played, they will be ineligible until the ace match.
Great, so now that we understand it's kind of like that King of the Hill style, do we know the classes of these players yet?
Yes, in fact we do. For Gnimsh, my teammate, it's going to be Mage, Warlock, and Paladin. And for Trump, I believe it is Mage, Warlock, and Shaman.
Yeah. So those 3 have been chosen, and they all have to choose one to start off, and they're going to be Mage versus Mage, I believe.
That's right. Both players choosing to start off with Mage. No big surprise. A very strong class right now in Hearthstone.
Especially with the new patch that's been hitting recently and trying to nerf some other classes. Hunter got nerfed, and they nerfed Mind Control. Real quick, before we go into games, any thoughts about that patch?
I think it made Mage for sure the #1 class right now, so I think we're going to see a lot of Mage on Mage action today, but who knows, I could be wrong.
All right, well, with that said, let's get into our first match between Trump and Gnimsh. This is Fight Night here at ESGN TV. Artosis, Mage is so popular now,
Yes.
both in ladder and arena, and I'm sure we've run into many encounters Mage versus Mage. What's your thoughts on the matchup?
You know what? It's interesting because there's so many different versions of Mage. There's Aggro Mage, there's Freeze Stall Mage, and then there's Frozen Giants. And it looks like Trump is actually playing his little tweaked version of Frozen Giants against the Aggro Mage of Gnimsh. So it's going to be a race to lethal damage.
Yeah, so we'll see how that's going to play in the dynamic. Wow, interesting. He's going to get a Pyroblast in the beginning of the hand. I think he mulliganed that, though.
Oh god, that's too bad actually. That's kind of rough. So that's actually Trump's hand that he's mulliganing. Whereas we have on Gnimsh's side, he's going to go sinking. He's going to get that coin, and he's the aggro deck, and he has the Fairy Dragon in hand. So this is actually a pretty good opener.
Oh, he does draw an Argent Squire, so that gives him a 1-drop opportunity. Plants it down. Argent Squire, very versatile with the Shattered Sun Cleric. You can drop it on turn 1, coin, and then drop it on turn 2 and buff it for a 2/2. But it definitely is the better play to take off the shield.
Well, a very nice move to take off the shield. You have to be careful about those. A lot of buffs go on them. You need to start working on them right away. And it looks like, I think he's going to buff it right away, is he?
Yeah, I think well, in the end, they're still the same stats, 2-2, but you do have the Argent Squire, which can stay alive, which is better in that regard.
Yeah.
It puts more pressure on the board.
It certainly does. It's interesting to note, he does have that Fairy Dragon, which can be very good against Mage, especially when you buff it +1 health, so that Blizzard doesn't kill it. But he's instead chosen a more aggressive route, and I think that's because he's figuring this out. He's saying, okay, this doesn't look like aggro Mage.
Right. And so for now, Trump, he has to make a pretty big decision of how he wants to deal with it. He has a few options at his disposal. He can Frostbolt and try to take out one of the threats, probably the Shattered Stone Cleric. Or he can try to use some of the other spells on the board, but they wouldn't be as ideal, what do you think?
Yeah, no, maybe like a Cone of Cold, and then next turn ping something and use a Frostbolt on another minion that comes out, possibly. Oh. And it looks like that is what he's going to choose to do. So I do expect next turn a ping and a Frostbolt to come out.
This seems like Gnimsh is going to draw his Blizzard, which is really good for turn 5, but still no reveal. But at this point, after 3 turns of no reveal, and you see a Cone of Cold, can you draw some conclusions, or is this still kind of hard?
I would say right now Gnimsh is 100% sure that this is a version of Frozen Giant, some version of it. Because, Trump is known as a controlling player anyways. He hasn't played any minions yet, and it's a very minion-light deck. So I think he knows what's going on.
Oh, this is interesting. A Nat Pagel legendary card. We don't see it too often because, well, it is RNG, and it doesn't feel very much like Trump to rely on cards like that.
I know. That's a very interesting thing that he's put into this deck. But, you know what? Trump's a very smart player, so I think he probably knows what he's doing. And look at that. It draws a card straight up. And you know what it might do is prevent a bunch of damage this turn.
It can soak up some damage and buy him some time. For those of you who don't know, Nat Pagel gives you a 50% chance at the end of the turn to draw a card. And what's best for Trump is he draw a Loot Holder, allowing him to draw another card.
Yeah, that's true. And now Gnimsh has actually a very hard decision to make. Does he attack the Nat Pagel to get rid of this card advantage? Or does he just go for the face? Because he hasn't actually practiced against this. I practice with him all the time, and we've never actually seen Nat Pagel in one of these decks.
He does have the option to immediately drop it with the Fairy Dragon that's been buffed with the Argus. And I do think, in turn 5, what do you have to start being worried about? Things like Blizzard and being able to ping off your creatures and whatnot. So maybe it's best to try to wipe it while he can, because he might run out of options too. And we do know that Trump has frozen options in his arsenal.
That's right. And he decides to kill it off. So that's 4 less damage on the Mage, but at least he's slowing down the card draw. But you know what? That was a useful Pagel, I would say, overall. It prevented 4 damage and kind of cycled.
Yeah, and Indiana went 2 for 1 in terms of absorbing damage as well as drawing him a card. So Trump is going to respond with Arcane Intellect, a card that some mages are pretty split on. They feel like it's only good late game. Playing it any turn between 1 through 6 is pretty debatable. But now we have him going to go for a Frostbolt on the Argus, because he couldn't target the Fairy Dragon. Yeah,
he's got to reduce the damage incoming. Even though you can take a lot of damage with this deck because of the ice blocks and the ice barriers and what have you, you have to be careful about it because the aggro mage deck is just so explosive.
So turn 5, we see that Gnimsh is going to attack first before making action. Does have an Argent Squire which you can drop, and this really seems the only play you can make other than the Frostbolt.
Yeah, this is actually, I think you probably do Frostbolt here. It's kind of a hard choice, but it's pretty mana efficient if you do. He's got to put damage on, and it looks like he's decided, he may as well cast that now.
Drain as fast as he can. It used to be a pretty popular combo to Frostbolt and the Ice Lance, but Ice Lance kind of fell out of popularity. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, I think it was a lot better Ice Lance when people were still using water elementals, because then you would freeze your opponent a lot more often. In these particular mage decks, we only have Frostbolts that freeze the enemy hero, so it's a little bit debatable whether or not you actually want to use that Ice Lance still.
Well, now we have a lot of options for Trump, and this is where it starts getting a little bit tricky, because it can be pretty hard, but the good thing is it's only 3 minions, so in the end, Cone of Cold can have maximum efficiency.
That's well, with the Fairy Dragon in the center, that can't be targeted.
Right.
So
I was not paying attention.
Gnimsh actually did a good job there, but I like that move by Trump to actually freeze that down. That's going to allow him to line up a nice Flame Strike on turn 7.
Oh, but turn 6, we see that Gnimsh drops the Argent Commander and puts Trump in the danger zone. 10 health is where you have to be very cautious.
This is pretty hard for Trump. Now, he does have that Giant that's now free. At 7 mana, he can go for a Flame Strike. He could do a Cone of Cold, which would actually give him that would actually be better in a lot of ways than the Flame Strike. I almost feel like I almost feel like Cone of Cold is what he should be doing here. Like maybe ping the Argent and then go for Cone of Cold on the smaller Argent.
Yep, and then he has options to do other stuff and still live for another turn, but you don't know what his opponent has, because worst case scenario, what does he have? A Fireball and maybe another Frostbite.
Well, it could get lethal very fast, and he knows that. So he's got to do some freezing for sure. He can't just sit here.
One thing that's also curious, and we see in the hand of Trump, is he has an Alex Strauss in the deck. What are your opinions on that?
Alex Strauss, that's how he's planning to kill. If he can stabilize this game and wipe everything out and stay alive, he's going to go Alex Strauss and next turn try to do something like attack with Alex Strauss, as well as a Pyroblast or something like that.
Well, Trump's still mulling things over. He does also have a Frost Nova to buy himself more time. So even if he can parry something and live next turn, he still can live at least 2 more turns. But still, it's very tricky. At the very least, dropping the Molten Giant would not have any negative repercussions.
Yeah, I think pretty much no matter what, the Molten Giant's going to have to come out. He's got to have that presence on the board. Maybe start killing off minions with it, because he can't get aggressive anytime soon.
And that Fairy Dragon and Argent Squire still alive, but again, this is the way you need to kind of pressure it. Oh, a little taunt coming out from Gnimsh.
Look at this. He's actually... Okay, Ice Block. That's a card that you really need in this deck. That's going to buy him another turn no matter what when lethal comes. So that's good.
Right.
I think what I would have liked to see is the Giant and maybe Thalnos a ping and a Cone of Cold. But that could have brought him into lethal range too, so he's got to be careful about that. There's no really great answer here.
Yeah, the win conditions are really hard to set up, but he's going to go for Ice Block and a Frost Nova, buy himself enough time for at least 2 more turns. And so Gnimsh, he draws an Defender of Argus. Can he put more pressure on the board?
This is interesting. Like, he's at 7 mana. He could go Blizzard plus ping. He could drop Defender of Argus, but that lines up the Flame Strike to be a little bit better.
Yeah, it does, and makes it really hard for him to kind of... Well, if you keep filling the board against a mage that freezes your board, it's also sometimes difficult, say if you draw like an Argent Commander and you want to put pressure on.
Yeah, that's so true.
And I like what you were saying, dropping the Blizzard, giving him the ability to kind of freeze action on Trump's side and kind of make it a stalled turn on each side.
Yeah, you know what, draw this out a little bit more. He knows that now they're in Trump's area where there's a lot of mana on the board, and Trump's going to be able to slow this way down.
Now, Trump draws a Blizzard, which is really good for him as well, and gives him, again, more stalling ability. And keep in mind, it's not like on turn 8, Gnimsh can drop a Pyroblast, because then it negates all the damage from Ice Block.
Well, let's see what he chooses to do here. Of course, he does have that Thalnos in hand, so he can pump up that Blizzard to be able to kill the Fairy Dragon, which is pretty nice. Flame Strike is not a good move, I don't think. He wants to try to keep that secret alive, basically, as long as possible, because as soon as that starts breaking, you have like 1 or 2 turns to finish the game, and he's not ready yet.
No, and he still doesn't really have a lot of mana room to play with. 8 still isn't. I mean, as much as you can drop the Pyroblast, you still want a little bit more flexibility. I mean, you can tell Trump even has this Loot Hoarder that he's wanted to drop for a long time. Yeah. He hasn't had the opportunity to.
That's what can happen when you're playing against a deck like this. There's just so much damage incoming from Gnimsh. He's so aggressive with this deck. This is a deck that he's won a lot of online tournaments with.
Yep.
He knows how to attack a Frost Giants mage.
That's right, Gnimsh, a player who's won MLG tournaments both on the NA and EU server. He's won ESL Cups, one of the most decorated online players in the beta to date, and he's a very fearsome opponent. Trump's going to ping off the Divine Shield from the Argent Commander and then Blizzard, which I think is an excellent choice to reduce the pressure.
Really good move there. I think that was the best choice that he could have come up with.
So then we hop on over to Gnimsh's point of view, and he draws an Acolyte of Pain. This is a card that a lot of mages are also split on, because they feel like the utility is a lot of mana to drop it and then ping it.
This is actually a call that Gnimsh made because he looked at the metagame. He said, you know what? There's a lot of mages out there, and the only way they deal with minions really is damage. So if you wait for Acolyte of Pain to use it very late game, it'll always give you at least a couple cards, and sometimes 3.
You know, it's a really interesting observation, because I'm looking at the deck list right now, and neither of them run a Polymorph at all.
Yeah, Polymorph, like hard removal is not as popular as it once was, because the metagame did get so fast. So It's kind of an interesting little piece of it.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't really have many options. You can Coning a Cold 1 minion, especially Giant that doesn't do much, is not going to do anything. And the Argus is kind of redundant.
Well, now that he has 2, he may as well, right?
Yeah.
Got to freeze that guy. And what do we have for Trump right now? Like, I think he might just clear the board. I think he has to clear. Well, he doesn't want for his secret to be revealed next turn, and it probably won't, even if he doesn't clear the board. But I think a board clear is okay, and I think Alexstrasza is okay here as well.
What's tricky about it is if he still can't Cone of Cold, because again, Gnimsh is very deliberate setting up the Fairy Dragon as the fulcrum point if you want to do a 3-person AoE. And also, if you do manage to pull it off, you're doing damage to Acolyte twice.
You know what? I would actually like him to Alexstrasza this turn, the more I look at it, because he's not going to die. He has that ice block. If he Alexstrazzas, it doesn't matter if lethal comes at him because of the ice block, which means Gnimsh has to freeze or remove one of the minions, or he just dies from attacks straight up.
That's true. And he does have 2 Pyroblasts in his hand as well to kind of back it up, so he does have that insurance, but at the same time it's still really tricky because he would like a little bit more insurance, and still the presence of that Gnimsh has on the board is really scary.
Yeah, it's still a lot of damage out there. So he does nail Gnimsh with that, bringing him down to 15. So this is getting a little bit scary. Here we go. We're on Gnimsh's turn.
Ooh,
and
taunts back and forth.
Ooh, this is such a, you know, at least he does have that other Cone of Cold. That's really important.
And also gets to the point where Gnimsh wants to trigger the secret now that he has an opportunity as well, because you don't want to leave it up as long as you can. And that puts 8, 9 on the board, and that gives him enough to ping it off.
You know, the one thing I'm a little bit nervous about, what if he has to Cone of Cold? Yeah, he simply has to.
Yeah, because if he burns through, then he has a Pyroblast, and he's just simply dead.
And he can actually trigger too. Look at this. He actually has exactly 9 mana, or 9 damage, if he pings him as well.
Leaves him 1 health.
Yeah, and attack with this, ping him. That'll trigger the secret, and then Cone of Cold, and he should be able to live through next turn. But he has to do that Cone of Cold.
And so the ice block is triggered, which prevents any further damage for the rest of the turn. And the Cone of Cold comes out and stalls it. So Gnimsh has his win condition set. Trump's gonna need a big top deck on his head. Maybe another ice block or 2.
See. Okay, he has. Well, he can freeze stuff down, but he needs an ice block basically, or he needs to kill this turn. And let's see. I don't see.
Drop a Loot Hoarder, just snipe it. Drop his Thalnos and snipe it. But his options are running thin. And that's kind of a desperation.
You're right. You're exactly right, Frodan. He has to drop the Loot Hoarder and snipe it.
And this is one of the versatilities of Mage, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
And what will be the last card? Oh,
I think that this isn't enough. It looks like that's it.
Well played, and Trump's going to concede. The first game goes to Team DogeHouse as Gnimsh will take the first set with his Mage play.
Really well played there by Gnimsh, I would say. And taking that first game, that is a crucial victory because then you get to counter decks later on.
That's what they get for playing our decks, right?
Yeah, that's what they get.
And now Trump has 2 more decks in play, but currently Team DogeHouse is up 1-0 in the first set, already pretty happy. And now he gets to go back and talk with his teammates, but so does Trump, and maybe gets to reset his head a little bit.
Yeah, they're going to have to calm him down, talk to him, what is your next deck choice? How do you play against a deck that's this aggressive? And, you know, that's a hard thing to do.
Gnimsh is the guy who always performs really well in tournaments, but is a bit lower skill level than maybe Ekop, but still like top notch. Performing well in tournaments is the biggest part, basically. You have to bring your A game.
one thing that's really interesting going into this entire Fight Night series is that Trump gets a lot of criticism for being an arena player. People say, does he really know how to play constructed at a high level? Is he just kind of a guy that's popular on a stream, but when it matters the most, can he perform on a big stage and constructed? What do you think after that first game?
You know what? I think he played very well, and it was actually kind of interesting because you and I were talking about how, oh, there's a couple Kona Colds here. These aren't really that useful. It's because he had both Kona Colds that he was actually able to win that. Trump was very close to setting up his entire win with that Alex Straza, but Gnimsh had enough freeze.
Yeah, so it ended up coming down to really good decision making, and you know what, making the best of the scenario, because sometimes you feel like, yeah, the cards don't really have that high utility. Freezing one minion with Cone of Cold doesn't really feel very good, but in the end, the value
if
paid
it
off.
saves your life, right? I mean, I guess that's a good feeling, and that's what it did. So let's see here. There's 2 decks left for Trump right now. One is a Shaman, and one is a Warlock.
Yes.
What do you think he's going to choose coming in against this very aggro mage?
I think Warlock. If you have to aggro him down.
Well, now that he has aggro, it's a little bit hard to pull off a control shaman deck, because that's usually the way you pull it. You don't really try to play other forms of shaman unless I'm missing
Normally
something.
not, yeah. No, I mean, there's some funny bloodlust decks that run around, but I don't think Trump brought one of those. He's a controlling player.
Yeah, and so with that kind of elimination process, I think he would try to bring Warlock. Although sometimes Warlocks, they play into the mage weakness because you drain your own health, you put yourself inside that fireball range, power blast range, and it can be a little bit tricky. But if you can control the board enough early, you can put on some hurt.
He could try that with Shaman as well. You know, you do have Lightning Storm, which is one of the best AoE removals. It's very quick. He might be playing Forked Lightnings, who knows?
That's true.
So he could try with that, but I'm kind of with you on that. Like, it can be hard with Shaman to play against a good aggressive mage, but I don't know. I guess we'll just see in a moment.
Well, the countdown has finished, which means both players have to go back to their booths. Let's get ready for the second game between Trump and Gnimsh. Can Trump make the comeback? We'll find out right now. So it looks like we have Warlock chosen, as we were talking about, and right off the bat, Gnimsh drops off a Mana Worm. This is incredibly difficult to deal with if you don't have the right answers.
It certainly is. A Voidwalker actually comes down here from Trump, and he's going to be able to buff that next turn with that coin, most likely. And it looks like there's no real great move right here for Gnimsh. His turn 2 is kind of weak.
Yeah, usually you would like to pair the Mana Worm with some kind of spell to increase his damage and then just continue to put on pressure, but we'll have to drop the Voidwalker to 2 health, and that's going to give Trump an opportunity to seize back board control.
I like this hand here from Trump, I have to say. It's pretty solid. He can just go ahead, coin out Shattered Sun Cleric. That's always one of the best turn 2s that you can possibly have, is buffing a minion that you played on turn 1. And it's a taunter, so Gnimsh, even though he's supposed to be very aggressive here, is sitting back, unable to do much.
That's right, and the best thing about it is he has another Sun Cleric as well, so you can do 2 3-drops in turns 2 and 3 and give yourself a lot of longevity on your minions.
That's so true, and looks like a Cone of Cold comes out that does give a buff, and he gets to take out that minion. So that's a good turn from Gnimsh there. Now, what will we see here? You know, at 1 health for that Shattered Sun, I'd like to see the second one come out and buff it.
Yeah, absolutely, and try to keep it alive. And this is kind of what Blizzard was intending when they tried to nerf the Sun Cleric in the first place, just reduce its ability to try to get onto the board and do a lot of damage. Because 3/3 and then giving it 1/1 is essentially a 4/4, and for 3 mana, that's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now, this deck, we see he has already got some very expensive cards in his hand. He already has a Rag, he already has an Argent, so his turns might slow down a little bit, whereas we're actually getting right into the mana level that you want to see with Gnimsh.
Yep, and he does have some pretty good cards, but again, now he's trying to put pressure back on the board. Ooh, Trump starts his turn off with a life tap because he doesn't have a 4-drop directly, and he gets a Voidwalker, which allows him to draw fire and maybe put some pressure on the board.
All right, well, we have so much explosive stuff in Trump's hand here. Look at this, a couple power overwhelmings.
Yeah.
That can be crazy. That's a lot of damage out of nowhere. For 2 mana, that's 8 damage. So Gnimsh is going to have to be very careful about that. Of course, he doesn't know.
No, he doesn't know, but it's really common to see usually 1, because then you can kind of pair it with Shadow Flame, aggressive trades. But to run 2 is not the practice of every Warlock, so Trump definitely has something cool planned with combos in his deck.
Well, let's see what Gnimsh wants to do here. He has to start removing some more of these minions and trying to punch through. Now, Harvest Golem is always very good. Like right now, it's even better because of Shattered Sun Cleric getting nerfed down to just 2 health. So playing that wouldn't be too bad. I think the Argus is kind of neat, but I don't really want to see that.
Yeah.
I want to see it once he has 2 minions on the board.
And just mentally, you feel like Argus, it's 50% wasted if you don't get 2 minions sometimes, but in other scenarios, it can be the best. Now, we see that the Novice Engineer draws the Shattered Sun Cleric. And he's not going to drop it to try to do anything just yet, but just going to clear the Void Walker. And this is important because if you leave minions on the board as Warlock, or against a Warlock, they can do things like draw Blood Imps and just things get snowballing way out of control and you get overrun.
Well, it looks like he wants to buff this Dark Iron Dwarf, and that makes a lot of sense. You don't want the Shattered Sun Cleric trading with that. So that's a really good move there. And with 3 minions out, he may be able to go ahead and play his Defender of Argus next turn. Whereas here for Trump, he's still got quite a nice hand, but it's not super good until next turn, when he can actually start playing some more of this.
So he draws a Knife Juggler with the Life Tap. Knife Juggler is, again, another stylistic choice with aggressive Warlock, because you have a lot of 1-drops. You have 6 imps that you can drop for 1 mana. That gives him a lot of, but it doesn't really do anything in this scenario, in my opinion.
Yeah, like he could go Knife Juggler Blood Imp to try to get a lucky ping off, but I don't know if I really like that. He might want to use a Power Overwhelming to take out this Dark Iron. Right now, I feel like it's a pretty sweet spot for Gnimsh.
All right, so he's gonna go for it, and he shoots the Novice Engineer.
Not what he wanted.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the worst choices.
Yeah, and well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, and now this makes it a little bit trickier for Trump to deal with. And one thing I do like what he did, though, is he put the Blood Imp between the Knife Juggler and the Sun Cleric, so Cone of Cold can't hit it.
It is a very, very good move. Now, he wants to remove the Knife Juggler if possible. But the thing is, he has so much damage in his hand. He's actually taken a much more aggressive stance now. He might want to save that Fireball.
Right.
It's kind of a hard choice.
You know, he does have the 2 minions and an Argus, and you can trade both without losing them. Oh, just kidding. I was imagining the old Sun Cleric. So instead, he's going to go for the Cone of Cold and take out the Blood Imp. And dealing with the Blood Imp immediately is always a good choice, in my opinion.
Well, I think what he's going to do here now is ping the Shattered Sun, take out the Knife Juggler, and just continue onwards, being very aggressive. And look at this, keeping 2 of his minions alive. Gnimsh has taken big board control.
Yeah, and one thing that's been a little hard for Warlocks to do, as much as they're aggressive, they have limited amount of AoE that they can do to their opponents. Not many people run Hellfire, which is a deal 3 damage to all characters.
Yeah.
And not many people run too many Shadow Flames in combination with Power Overwhelming, so those are your options.
Shadow Flame kind of goes against what the deck is trying to do in a lot of ways by sacrificing your own minions that you want to be attacking with, so... Yeah, in fact, I'm looking at his list. He doesn't really have any AoE in here. It's mostly just very powerful minions that are good prices.
And so he's going to drop the Argent Commander and trade immediately with the Dark Iron Dwarf for his shield. But now, again, the ball is back in the court of Gnimsh because he has a lot of options at his disposal.
You know what? Okay, he drops the Acolyte. I was actually hoping Harvest Golem and drop the Argus in between them both, but this actually works very well also because either one that this Argent Commander runs into, it dies against.
Yes, and well, the health nerf didn't really matter. And actually, it does, because the Acolyte of Pain, now it's 2/4, can immediately take it out. So that puts a different kind of pressure as well, because that's also going to help his opponent by drawing a card. And now Trump's still in an awkward position.
Yeah, at least he's going to be able to get rid of 2 minions here, so that's good. But you know what? That one's going to draw a card for Gnimsh, so that was actually very, very useful. And now it looks like this board most likely is going to trade again.
One thing that's also kind of psychologically impairing for a player who's dropped both of his Argent Commanders, if you know your opponent has dropped none, because then you feel like, oh man, no matter what, I'm just going to lose the trades because the charge presence is so heavy. And look at this, Gnimsh is going to bypass the Argent Commander and go directly for the health.
I love the choice. Look at how low his health is getting with only 4 damage on board. It's hard for him to imagine like a kill this turn, 25 health. No, you're not going to get rid of that.
And now all of a sudden Trump, he would love if he had the board control to drop a Ragnaros, but the whole point of this deck was to kind of have the control while being aggressive, and he's achieved neither. And look at that, Gnimsh is tossing out the taunts.
Well, right now I'm looking at this hand, Frodan, and I do not like it. I don't know how Trump can possibly take this game from here. There's not much he can do. He can trade this 4-2 for one of these 3-attack minions, but that is still 7 damage coming over next turn.
And also, life tapping is just so dangerous because you put yourself within Pyroblast range as well. Even if you somehow tap something to get a
Yeah, he
board
can't.
clear, you know?
The thing is, it's pretty much game, and I think he knows that. He's trying to figure out, is there something he can do? Well, trade with the fairy, that's not a bad idea. Drop the rag, I figured that's what he would do. If he gets the 3-3, that's pretty good. And we'll see. And he does.
All right, so
that's the best he could have hoped for sure.
And
well,
unfortunately, they won't matter because Gnimsh draws a Pyroblast, and that'll allow him to put out 14 damage, more than enough. As Gnimsh will go up 2-0 in the series over Trump. And Team DogeHouse looking primed to take the first match in this best-of-5 series.
Wow, and that's a strong win right there from Gnimsh. You know, it was a little bit unlucky, I do want to say, for Trump. He plays a deck with mostly very cheap minions to be able to get out very quickly and control the board, but his hand was full of cards like the 6-mana Argent Commander and the 8-mana Ragnaros. It's just, it's a bad beat.
He had no 4 or 5 drop. I mean, his turns 1 through 3 is one of the strongest you could hope for, getting an Imp out and then buffing it twice with Shattered Sun Cleric, but if you don't have follow-up to it, especially against a mage,
those middle turns are so important. That's where Gnimsh really took control of the game.
I'd say, I haven't seen any polymorphs. I mean, there's no way he has polymorphs, so Earth Elemental, you know, something like that really strong.
Did he have Blizzard?
Yeah, he had two Blizzards.
And unfortunately, that puts Trump into a position where he only has 1 deck left. He has to go 3-0 if he wants to sweep it for his team back into his favor. But it's going to be really tough because that Shaman deck, the way we normally see the archetype, doesn't really favor him against mages.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. I don't like it that much, but if he's playing like a lot of taunts, maybe he can get those out, control the early board with the spells and maybe some of the weapons of Shaman, and then get into some big taunts. That could be difficult for Gnimsh to deal with.
Yeah, I agree fully there. And so that wraps up game number 2. Trump taking a couple minutes to talk to his team as maybe they have some advice to what they can do. Gnimsh doesn't really have to do anything. He's like, all right, so mage game 2,
keep attacking people with these mage cards.
Keep using Pyroblast whenever you can.
Keep drawing Pyroblast to end the game before it should. It's
great
a good
coaching,
strat.
Thanks.
No, that's what else could they be saying to him at this point? I mean, he's Gnimshing it up.
Yeah.
So. All right, I'm excited to see this next game. We won't talk about the decks quite yet. We don't want Gnimsh to know what's coming at him, whereas Trump, I think he pretty much has this deck list memorized right now. He could build Gnimsh's deck after what he's seen.
One thing that's cool is Trump is probably most familiar with Shaman, even though he does play random a lot in his arena streams. His most favorite class that he picks, if he had to choose one, is Shaman, and so I think his natural affinity will allow him to kind of come up in the clutch if it could.
He's a very controlling player. He's always been very vocal about that. He wants to control the board. I'm actually very much like that myself, and so I see why he likes Shaman. It is very controlling, and the one thing that's kind of interesting to me, though, is because I feel like taunts might play a big part of this. Trump has gone out of his way to express that he doesn't really like taunts, and that's bit him in the butt before.
Yeah.
So that could be occurring again, but we'll see.
Well, there are some powerful cards like the Earth Elemental in the Shaman deck. We'll see what's going to come up because the timer is over. Trump is do or die. Game number 3 is coming up next here on Fight Night.
I like Shaman because it has a very control playstyle that's sort of grown on me from way back when I like to decide my own fate. And also I enjoy just being able to take care of multiple problems with a single card.
My favorite class in Warcraft is Warlock. And in WoW TCG also I had a great success with the Warlock class. But in Hearthstone right now, my favorite class is Mage. Mage is the most flexible class, which has a lot of different approaches to the deck structure and also a lot of fun cards to play.
All right, it's time for game 3. Let's find out if Trump's got what it takes to make a comeback or Gnimsh go for the sweep.
And it looks like the coin goes to Gnimsh. Not the greatest hand that you want to start with, though.
No, so he's probably going to mulligan some of those. Trump switches all of his cards, and he picks up an Earth Elemental and a Sunwalker, a card that you don't see all that often.
Yeah, this is actually, first off, there's some cool stuff going on here. Trump is playing a lot of taunts, so that's very different from the past.
Yeah,
it looks
we were
like
talking about that.
Yeah, he's really come to love the taunts, I guess. But that hand is really bad again. He's in that same position where his hand is too expensive to play early.
Maybe he can develop it with a Novice Engineer. Draws 2.
Getting a lot better with that, at least.
And a Loot
There you
Order. So,
go.
and that's kind of what the Novice Engineer is for anybody who might be starting off wondering what cards are really good to make a core. Novice is good just because it improves the consistency, helps you get to the cards you want faster while having something on the board.
Well, it looks like Gnimsh has some choices to make. I think the Acolyte of Pain is by far the best.
Yes.
He does throw that down. That should end up drawing him minimum 1 card, but very possible this could draw him 3 cards.
Someone tried to explain to me how Acolyte draws 1.5 cards on average, and I said that doesn't really make sense, but yeah, the idea is at least you can get something from it, assuming there's no silence. I don't think there's any silence run in Trump's deck.
Yeah, well, I guess he has Hex, but you don't
Yeah.
really want to Hex that. You want to save Hex for some other stuff.
Ooh.
And yeah, it looks like he's going to start drawing some massive cards off this Acolyte. This is very, very good for him.
Awesome start. And he even has a Shattered Sun Cleric to add some more health if he wanted to.
That's amazing.
Wow.
That's such a good play.
Excellent start.
Now it can draw even more cards, possibly. And look at that. He's removing things on the board, drawing cards. He's got the bigger threats. It's a better start for him, but that's okay because he's got the aggressive deck, and the Shaman deck is really going to start kicking in on turn 5, 6, 7.
Yeah, especially with some of these power cards like the Earth Elemental and the Sunwalker looming. Now, one thing that's also really curious is that we see Trump picking a Mad Bomber, which is a cool card, especially when there's Blood Imps on the field.
Yeah.
But in this scenario, if it lands for some reason 3 times on the Acolyte, what are you going to do?
That would be absolutely hilarious. Well, let's see here. Does he drop it? Ooh, that's kind of wild. I think you actually sacrifice your little Novice Engineer probably into the 3/2, and then just hope they don't have any removal for some of your bigger minions next turn.
You could. You can try to Mad Bomber to absorb as many targets before attacking into it to potentially hit the Sun Cleric as well.
That would be nice, yeah. Because the thing is, as you say, if 1 or 2 or even 3 of those hit that Acolyte, the advantage for Gnimsh is just out of this world.
I think he's going to go for the security of making sure he doesn't kill his own. And so 2 and 3,
Oh,
and no!
that's about
1 lands on the Acolyte.
That's about as bad as it could have been.
Oh.
And a thank you coming out of Gnimsh.
You know, Trump's also sometimes pegged that can be pretty emotional, and that's going to toy with his head all game long.
Oh, man, yeah. He's going to have to stay calm, though. It's a bad situation, but maybe he can recover. He is going to hit turn 5 next turn. And he's still at a high life total,
Yeah.
so I mean, this isn't, there's still ways for him to come back.
And
It's
he
just
does
a card
have some board
advantage.
presence. Yeah, absolutely. So with turn 4, we do have a Dark Iron Dwarf that could be dropped. Maybe a combination of a 3 and 1 with the Argent Squire, improve his board a little bit. Gnimsh has a lot at his disposal. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, for Gnimsh, I mean, there's almost no way you can go wrong here, to be perfectly honest. I think that he has so many different options, like draw more cards, play more minions. He could play 2 minions, 1 minion, do some pumps. He could do Cone of Cold. Like, there's just so much for him here.
There you go. And so he's going to choose to take out the Loot Hoarder and freeze it while he's being able to also attack and, again, develop more of his board. Now, how is Trump going to potentially respond? He has 5-drop as a big Earth Elemental. He also drew an important card in Hex, and that's going to be really useful coming up soon.
Yeah, the Hex is definitely going to be an important card, especially once something a little bit bigger comes out. But does he play the Earth Elemental here? That's the question, because if he does, on turn 6, he can't play Fire Elemental or Sunwalker because of that overload.
That triple overload is not just any kind of overload. His next turn, the best he can do is play Hex or his Lava Burst.
Yeah, maybe a Totem, but yeah, it's not a pretty situation. Let's see if he can take it out very easily here. It's got 8 health. Of course, has taunts, you have to attack it.
And it's got Fireball, so he can do something there.
That might be the best way, is a Fireball plus run the Acolyte into him.
And so he can draw a card and trade essentially 1 for 1 even. Well, that Acolyte's been so useful.
Yeah, that's... how many cards is it actually drawn now? Is that the 3rd card?
That's the 3rd card, yeah.
It's so good.
2/4.
Such a strong card right now.
And now he's going to Frostbolt it.
Oh, really?
Instead of Fireball.
I'm actually a little bit
and trade a minion.
surprised. I have to say I'm a bit surprised by this Frodan. I thought that he would probably use the Fireball, but...
Probably want to save it for the burn, potentially.
Yeah, I guess so.
And you can use the ping, but he was also flirting with the idea of dropping a 2nd Acolyte. Oh, he's playing really greedy.
Well, with this type of card advantage, I guess he just wants more, but he's got to be careful because Trump is getting that big mana. Not next turn because they overload, but the turn after that, he's going to have a huge turn.
So the 1/3 and a 1/1 on the board, how will Trump respond? He gets the Lightning Storm, but doesn't really need it at the moment.
Yeah, I don't think that's very useful.
He's just going to totem and pass. It's a dead turn for him otherwise.
And that's a good totem. Yeah. I think that that's something that probably Gnimsh will get rid of. Yeah, mine too. I think for most people it is, unless I'm dying and then I want the Stoneclaw totem.
Yeah.
But, you know.
So a buff on the Acolyte with the Dark Iron Dwarf, and all of a sudden becomes a formidable minion on the board that can put on pressure. And that still gives flexibility because, oh, he's going to attack directly. I figured he could ping.
Yeah.
And then take it. Or
well, I guess
he
he
might
wants to
drop
play
Fairy. And then...
Yeah. And it's not a bad move at all, I would say.
And taking out the totem is really important because of the Lightning Storm that can come out.
All right, well, let's see now. What are we going to have it play this turn? Is it going to be the Fire Elemental? Is it going to be Sunwalker?
I think the Fire Elemental is excellent because the Fairy Dragon can get taken out by a Battle Cry, and then you have the Rockbiter to kind of follow up to maybe take out the Acolyte or something else like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really strong play. I would go with either one, but I think for sure, you're right, the Rockbiter has to come out this turn.
Or, if you want the Dream, you Hex the Dark Iron Dwarf, and then you Lightning Storm, and you leave RNG up for chance. But
well, actually, with that 2 spell power, he's going to kill everything with that.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Oh, sick. That's a good move right there.
Something we didn't catch immediately, but Trump was able to find it out. Now, he does draw a card, Gnimsh does, but funny little animation series is...
Yeah, they like to split it up a little bit. It's an ongoing storm, but that is a ton of damage. He clears the board, and suddenly the controlling Shaman is looking good.
Yeah, and he didn't lose too much health. Still 23 at 8. At turn number 8 is excellent. And now we see that Gnimsh is going to resort to drawing more cards. It seems to be the theme of this game.
I know, right? He has drawn so many extra cards this game. And you know what? Against such a controlling deck, could that play a factor later on?
Well, he does have that Fire Elemental that he hasn't played yet, and so he can take out the Harvest Golem. Still has that Sunwalker. Still haven't found a good use for it just yet either.
Yeah. The Sunwalker wouldn't be a terrible play. I feel like the Fire Elemental right now might not be the best because zapping that Golem into a 2/1 doesn't really help you that much.
Yeah. But he has... I'm trying to find out, what's the card behind the Argus?
That's the Rockbiter.
Okay, yeah, that's right. So he drops the Sunwalker, and that just gives him, higher board presence, make it a target. And by now, I think Trump's also kind of deduced that Gnimsh doesn't run a polymorph because he's dropped a lot of big targets.
That's
Do you think that's a conclusion you can make?
I think you're just about right, especially if he did his homework coming in. Gnimsh has played almost this exact deck in a lot of different tournaments and didn't ever run a polymorph. He was talking about possibly doing it for this event, but decided not to. So, yeah, he might be able to deduce that for sure. Now, I think here you might want to do something like Cone of Cold, Fireball, kill the totem and attack.
He has to go through the Sunwalker first, though. Oh, you're right. So he's going to use the Divine Shield break with the Novice, then Fireball it.
Yeah. And not a bad play at all. This is going to leave his Harvest Golem out because I'm sure he's going to want to take that Spell Power Totem. That's by far the best one.
Yeah, and he can even drop another Harvest Golem if he wants, or he's going to go for the Argus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He has 2, so he can get some utility in that regard.
And he wants to get the damage on instead. He's decided there's not going to be that many spells in there, and he should be fine. But look at this. Now Trump is going to have an insanely good turn.
Yeah, he's got Earth Elemental, which is extremely cheap. You can look at it as 8 mana, and you pay 3 next turn. But now he can Hex a buffed Harvest Golem, which is exactly what he wants. Take out the Defender of Argus with the Fire Elemental. Excellent turn for Trump.
That was a great turn right there. And now Trump is a player that's in control. He's down to 20 life, not too bad. Of course, it's double Pyro range, but he's got such board presence that I don't think Gnimsh can do anything like that.
Gnimsh does have the taunt to kind of buffer for it, and he has a powerful legendary, Sylvanas. People often hail it as the most powerful legendary. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Pretty much, yes. Like, Blood Mage Thalnos is very nice. Ysera and Rag are really great if you get them out, but overall, Sylvanas goes in almost every single deck. She's just, look at the position she's put on this board. Like, if you kill her, you lose one of your minions, and who knows what you're going to lose.
Potentially the Fire Elemental, which would be absolutely devastating. But we do have some more options coming into Trump's hand. The Stormforged Axe, a very underrated weapon. Probably one of the best nowadays that people drop 3/2s instead of 2/3s on turn 2 and gives you a lot of board control.
I'm kind of, the thing is, you don't want to give him the Spell Power Totem, but I think that's going to have to happen. We don't see any hacks here, so maybe use like a Rockbiter or the Stormforged Axe to take out the taunt and then just get rid of your Fire Elemental on that Sylvanas. That's one of the only things I can think of here.
Yeah, he does have a lot of options with like a Lava Burst and like the weapon and Rockbiter if you really want to, but again, leaving it up to chance is just too difficult.
Yeah. You can't just willingly give up a Fire Elemental to a Sylvanas. That's like a game ender right there. So I think Trump is just kind of working through this in his mind and saying, okay, I think I have to do this now. He has to get this totem.
Keep in mind that he also could heavily overload himself, but he's going to use
I like
Rockbiter and then trade it and then give no minions to Gnimsh.
Really good move there.
Wow.
Very smart play here by Trump.
All right, and then he can drop the Earth Elemental if he wants to as well and finish off his turn with incredible board presence. And now...
This is scary for Gnimsh, man. This is not a situation I would like to be in with this mage deck.
Oh, but he draws a second Pyroblast, and now he has 21 damage on the board.
This happens sometimes, Rodan.
Man.
There's no life gain whatsoever in the deck of Trump, so he actually has to win this turn, and that's not going to happen.
He has to do 28 damage, and that's just not possible because he doesn't have the capability. He's overloaded, can't even drop a Ragnaros, and that would have maximized it to
this
17.
is... Yeah.
Wow.
There's no way to do it.
And just like that.
Just like that. That's sometimes how the cookie crumbles with Pyroblast.
However, Trump doesn't know, so he might take his time and really
sure. I mean, you don't count on him necessarily having that, but having that come out that turn, he's probably thinking in the back of his head that there's enough for lethal next turn.
And by now, you've drawn about half of your deck, probably about 15 to 17 cards, so the probability is still kind of in the middle range for drawing double Pyroblast, so Trump probably has no suspicions. And yeah, putting out the Sylvanas is the sealing fate. Gnimsh, probably, yep, there it is, the well played. Gnimsh will win 3-0 over Trump.
That is a very strong victory for Gnimsh. Not dropping a single game, not having to show off his other 2 decks.
Yeah, and that's going to keep a secret if he wants to go for the ace. Now, what this means is Gnimsh has won 250 for himself as well as the team. And that's also setting up a big condition that's going on here, Artosis. If one team completely sweeps, and we're talking about every series 3-0, 3-0, 3-0, they also get 5,000 extra.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
That is a tall order, but you know what? Gnimsh, he swept the first series. Maybe it can be done.
Yep, and so that's going to do it for the first episode here. I'm really anxious to see what these players have to say. We're going to bring them on to talk to them through the games. But do you have any final thoughts about the series overall between Gnimsh and Trump?
You know what? I think that Trump played very well. 2 of the games, he had really expensive hands. They were not good starting hands. And Gnimsh got enough of a lead to eventually carry himself through. So I kind of feel bad that Trump didn't get to show off his full skill here, maybe.
But he's not going to be done. We're going to have more opportunities to see him in the future, and we wish Trump the best of luck. But Gnimsh does take a 3-0 for Team DogeHouse. We're sitting down right now with Trump right after his loss to Gnimsh in the first round of the first day here in the ESGN Fight Night. Trump, can you talk to me about some of the games and walk me through some of the thought processes, starting from the beginning?
Sure. All those games are pretty brutal. He maged really well, and as I barely stabilized each time, fished me off with a good old Pyroblast, as standard for mages. In the first game, I sensed blood, cast Alex Straws on him. Knew that I would win if he didn't have a freeze. Turned out he did. That's too bad. Second game, it was a pretty big slaughter. And the third game, I thought I had stabilized except double Pyroblast, which is too bad.
Yeah, actually in the third game, I thought you played exceptional with some of the turns, being able to turn it around with some of the Hex and Fire Elemental combos that you pushed out. And so in the end, I feel like you did show off your skills.
Oh, thank you.
I'm joined with the winner of the series. Gnimsh defeated Trump 3-0. Good job, dude.
Thank you, man.
Tell me some of their feelings on the match overall.
Oh my God, it was amazing. Like being here and playing against Trump was fantastic. So like I knew that mage is my favorite class, and yeah.
I bet it is.
And it worked. Yeah. See the mage, right? You know.
Yeah. So talk to me about some of the games. What was going on through your mind, especially when you drew double Pyroblast in Game 3? I want to hear what you thought.
Yeah, I was actually expecting that, to be honest.
No, you were not.
I was. Yeah, I was like having like, you mean game 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was sitting on that Pyroblast, and then I was thinking like, okay, I can just Pyroblast him because I will surely draw a second Pyroblast next turn. Like I'm known for that. I'm like calling the cards to me, like, you know, heart of the cards. I think about the card and it comes. So when the second Pyroblast came, I was like, okay.
I think you're in the wrong city, man. You should be in Las Vegas, not Berlin.
Maybe, right.
All right.
But it worked out.
So you've won 3-0. Are you aware of the sweep bonus, by the way, if your entire team goes
obviously.
3-0?
It's so exciting. Yeah, it's like it puts a bit of pressure on the team right now. I hope they are not too stressed, but yeah, it's perfect.
Awesome. So you have full confidence in Ekop, Nyx, and Artosis to go 3-0 as well?
Yeah, that's right. The guys are great, and I really hope they will do it, and I know they can do it. So yeah, we train together, we like play together a lot. So I know
together,
they have,
go shopping together.
Maybe not that far, but they are good. Yeah.
But you guys have a lot of good bonding moments, and I'm glad you guys got to enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, you heard it here from Gnimsh that he's really confident in his team. He starts off the series 3-0 for Team DogeHouse. We'll find out what happens in the next episode of Fight Night. We'll see you guys later.